Hi guys, so welcome to week 3 of distance learning, and it is about the dinosaurs and how they died, and using geology to figure that out. So these are the slides. We just made one set of slides that have the directions embedded in it, and then you guys can click around and you're just going to turn this in. So the directions are here. You can read them. You're basically going to be doing a digital breakout room, so you're going to need to solve a challenge, put it into a Google form. The Google form will give you the website for the next task. As far as turning in activities goes, just turn in these slides. You do not need to submit the Google form. It is simply for you to figure out what the next part is. Okay. So these are your week 3 activities. So you have 4 different things to do. Invest, as always. So you're on trial 2 of Invest, and I actually uploaded a set of instructions for that separate from this. And so this week you're going to be looking at stratigraphy, doing the challenge, and then figuring out how the dinosaurs died. Also, there's optional. As requested, join us for quizzes this week, Friday at 11 a.m. A lot of you guys joined us. It was both teams combined for Quizlet Live on Thursday, which was a lot of fun. We did Thursday because Friday is a holiday. It was Good Friday. And then this week, you guys requested that we do quizzes, so that's what we're going to do. So I will post the link to Ms. Suha's meeting room on Google Classroom, and then you can click on that, and once you click on that WebEx link, it's going to show you the link to log on for quizzes, and that's how you can join us for that. Okay, so feel free to join us. It was a lot of fun watching you guys try to beat each other last time. So, stratigraphy. So you can click on this, and it will take you to the next slide. And stratigraphy is basically how scientists study the different rock layers to figure out what happened in what order to get a relative dating timeline. Especially because humans have only been around for such a short blip of time in the grand scheme of things, which you guys discovered last week. Tons and tons and tons of stuff happened before we were even around. So how do we know when it happened, and how do we know what happened? So you can choose from 2 things. Either you can watch a couple of videos, or you guys can read an article. It's up to you guys how you want to learn about stratigraphy and the laws that scientists use. Also, fun fact, this right here is known as Dunkleosteus. It is one of the coolest fossils in my personal opinion. It's a genus called Dunkleosteus. It's a weird name, but whoever finds it gets to name it. So the guy, part of his name involved dunk, so he decided to name it Dunkleosteus after himself. And if you discover it, you get to name it. So nowadays there's a lot of things named after Harry Potter characters, because who doesn't love Harry Potter? So this is a giant armored fish, and its skull is literally 6 feet tall. So this fish could have crushed you with one bite, because look at its teeth. They are ginormous. Its jaws, its teeth were just bones that are fused into its jaw. So it could have it was an intense, crazy animal. And the largest species of Dunkleosteus was 30 feet long. So imagine, like, almost a bus length, a little bit shorter than a bus, but imagine that being the size of a fish with a skull that is 6 feet big, and imagine that swimming in the ocean. So that's what we're talking about, is these crazy things that lived a long time ago. And we can actually figure out, relatively speaking, when they lived based on where they are, what layer they're in the fossil record. And we can also date them approximately and get an absolute date based on the carbon that's left inside of the fossil. So if it's just a footprint, we can't date that as easily, because it's actually kind of hard to date rocks unless they have radioactive material inside of them. But carbon, there are certain, all life forms are made out of carbon, so trees and animals and us and bugs all have carbon inside of it. And some carbon is radioactive, and so we can look at the amount of radioactive carbon left inside of the fossil to determine how long ago that thing was alive. So that's stratigraphy. So you're going to learn about it, and then you're going to enter the breakout room. And your goal is to figure out how the dinosaurs died and to figure out where this event occurred on Earth. So this is your challenge. Now that you've learned about stratigraphy, you're going to be looking at these different rock layers and figuring out what order they occurred in, from oldest to youngest. Sorry. Oldest to youngest. Okay? Make sure you have it in that order, because when you type it into the Google form, if you have it in a different order, it's not going to unlock for you. So here we have a bunch of different fossils. That's what all these different shapes are. So if it's a diamond, then that means it is a different kind of fossil than the circle. The circles are a different kind of fossil than the hourglass. So they're just different species in the fossil layers. And as you guys can see, there's a fault line here, which means that the Earth actually shifted. There was like an earthquake. And so these layers are no longer lined up. So you need to match up the layers with each other, depending on which ones occurred at the same time or were made at the same time. So this here, you guys should know from last week what it's called, but it is an igneous rock that has come up through and cut through the other layers of rock. And then this here is a canyon. So think like Grand Canyon. I know, so sorry guys for those of you that couldn't go to the Grand Canyon. But it's a giant hole in the earth. So you got to think about when was the hole created in comparison to the rocks, and then figure out that order, okay? So on this slide, you're going to be typing in your answer. We also tell you that if two layers occurred at the same time, you're going to list them in alphabetical order. So if you think that G and K occurred at the same time, then G comes before K in the alphabet. And that means that you're going to list G before K. So please type out your answer with all capital letters and no spaces. For instance, A, B, C, D, E, F, okay? So if you think that they occurred at the same time, list it in alphabetical order. Then you're going to click on this link here, and it's going to take you to a Google form. And that Google form is going to then
here's a Google result.
Move you to the next part of the breakout room. And that is on Google Classroom. It is on Google Earth, and you're going to be exploring different parts of the Earth, okay? So hopefully those instructions help you guys out, and then you can see the next video for instructions on Google Earth and how to navigate that.